NPC. Don't you guys?
That's true. All right, so we're gonna start again with a little vignette, a little bit of ways away from you guys, but hopefully converging with you guys eventually. Gonna go to Connecticut. There's a building here. Looks like to be like associated with some sort of pharmaceutical company. They have like a small campus here with parking garages. There's a heavy rain coming down this evening. It's kind of pushing onto the evening where things will be shutting down. Some people are going home. And then moving across this courtyard coming out of the parking garage here on the left is 8 figures. They can only be seen because they split the rain around their form, and they're clearly moving under some sort of invisibility. You can see their footprints splashing across. They move towards the building quite quickly. Use some sort of glass cutter to cut out a section of glass to circumvent any security at the front of the building. Moments later, alarms go off. These 8 figures are exiting the building with some sort of doctor, somebody kind of dressed in lab gear, clearly in the middle of some sort of work, kind of an older gentleman. They start moving back across the courtyard, back towards the parking garage, and we'll just make a roll to see if they can get past security here, because moving out of the building after them are a series of security guards who are drawing tasers and pistols, trying to stop them. So, Avan, go ahead and roll me, let's see here, a D8 for me, and a D6.
They explode.
They do if you roll high enough.
Yeah, I just got a 6 on the D6, so.
There you go.
Oh dear God, it exploded again.
Yay!
Oh, good God.
Oh, and I have to figure out how to loop Fred Boat again.
Oh,
That's not the music.
Okay, all right, good.
That's for sure not the music.
We out here.
Dance.
San Andreas.
That's funny. I wonder why it did that. I just did the same command as I did last time, but it played the wrong song.
17.
17, okay. Let's see here.
Oh, wait, no, hold on. No, 19, because it was 2 6s, a 3, and a 4.
Alright, let me get music going again, because your boy
7
always
plus
forgets
12.
to loop it. Hey, that's a winner. Now, repeat. There we go. So these figures, now visible, kind of just hauling this older lab technician across this courtyard. They turn and 2 in the rear of the group drop to one knee and start firing automatic SMGs at these security guards. The security guards kind of bolt sideways to avoid the suppressing fire, diving behind trees, diving behind any sort of concrete that they can get behind. They do fire a couple shots off at the advent of this encounter, and one of the commandos, all of them are clearly dressed in like paramilitary gear. They're covered in like magazines and like sidearm. One of them takes a couple shots in the chest, clearly wearing body armor though, falls down kind of crying out in pain. Another one of the men comes and grabs him by the kind of vest and starts pulling him across the courtyard. So, let's see, how do I want to do that? I guess, that was a successful roll, so I want to make it more difficult for the commandos to, like, successfully get this guy across this courtyard. So I think what ends up happening is you start hearing sirens in the distance as police are quickly moving into the area. But what happens is one guy dives behind a tree, and then in one smooth motion comes out the other side of the tree an agent, and there's kind of a flash of blue radiation, and then there's a man standing in a suit pulling a very large pistol out of his jacket and leveling it at these men. So, Avan, you've been upgraded to an agent suddenly.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
So, Maddie, what do you think this agent would do to prevent these commandos from getting across to this parking garage? Again, he's kind of, let's say here, kind of near the building, if you can, oh, you can't see, there we go. So he's here near the building, and these commandos are moving across this courtyard in between these trees. To add some information because of this upgrade, you know that this older gentleman that they're trying to pull out of this building is called the Chemist. He's a very important program, and you definitely don't want them getting their hands on this man. What do you think he would do?
They're invisible, so he would be.
So they're not invisible anymore. They were invisible when they entered the building, but now that things have popped off, they're not invisible anymore.
I think he would be trying to go for headshots, right?
Okay.
Use a gun.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me bring up a character sheet here for him, just so you know what you'd be rolling.
Oh boy.
So go ahead and roll a d20 and
Oh.
a d10.
Oh boy.
Let's see here. Oh, Roxy. She wants up into my lap.
Well, you gotta let her. Easy.
So they're just going to counter with their own firearms. Basically, the group splits. 4 of them stay behind and try to suppress the security guards and the agent, and the other 4 continued or attempt to continue across the courtyard.
I got a 13.
Okay, 13. I'm rolling these guys. So I got a 21 on that one. So what happens is 3 heavy shots ring out from this large handgun. The man that's pulling the other commando by his vest gets shot in the head. It pings off his helmet. He is wearing like a ballistic helmet, so you hear kind of a metallic shattering noise as he goes, his head snaps back and he just goes limp on the ground. I'm not sure if he's dead or not, but he's on his way. The other man is still just kind of rolling, trying to get his bearings, get his breath back, and get to his feet. 2 other men keep firing their machine guns, and this forces the agent to kind of going into dodge mode. So he's moving in unnatural, sharp motions that are just simply impossible. All of the bullets that are sent his direction fire into the building behind him and just start shattering windows out. And none of them hit home, though. But because they succeed on the roll, the 4 other gentlemen do get most of the way to the garage. They turn back to look kind of at their allies and then kind of make the judgment call to continue on without them. And they haul the man into the garage there. The security guards, for the most part, are out of their wheelhouse. They're trying to return fire, but not effectively. They're just kind of blind firing, trying not to get shot, and the suppressing fire seems to be working on them much more than it works on the agent. So Riley, we'll go to you for the last decision. This agent, his goal of stopping these men from getting this program kind of slipping through his fingers. What do you think he would do in this last moment to try to get across that courtyard and potentially stop them?
You're muted, by the way.
Yep, I am. Okay. Just with the objective of getting across the courtyard.
Yeah. I mean, so he's receiving suppressing fire, and he's in dodging mode at this moment, so he's kind of rooted to the ground and just dodging bullets where he stands, and there's, a need to cover that distance, get past this first group that's suppressing fire, and get to this other group that's, probably on their way to a vehicle of some sort. And again, with an agent, there's, a lot of options.
That's fair. I think, honestly, the stealthiest option with an attempt to like head them off and just like go for speed.
I like that. So go ahead and roll a d20 and then another d20. So just two d20s.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, the first one is a 15.
15. All right.
And a 12.
Excellent. And let's go ahead with let's do a driving roll for them. So they hop into an SUV. There's 2 SUVs parked next to each other. They all hop into one and leave the other. That's a d12 actually. I'm so sorry. What was your total roll there?
15 plus 12, 27.
Yeah. Okay. So these guys come screaming, down levels of this parking garage and out. Let's see if we can actually find an exit here. So yeah, what happens is they come screaming out this entrance here, and the agent takes a moment, realizes that the men suppressing him are reloading, and he just takes off at a sprint, supernatural speed. It's just eerie how quickly he moves across that courtyard, and he leaps off the corner of the building here and lands in front of the SUV. His like dress shoes hit the ground and cause small craters in the concrete, and the SUV slams on its brakes, which seems like an odd response to a man. You might just try to drive through him, but they might know something that a normal person might not. Instead of just driving through the man, they start firing out the front window at him, and again he's just dodging those bullets in just a blur, and their windshield is being riddled with bullet holes and finally just kind of shatters and breaks out. They hit reverse and start reversing back into the parking garage to try to figure something out. Let's see here. Is there a different way out of here? Potentially. So they're going to make another driving roll. From the agent's perspective, what he sees is they are flooring it in reverse as fast as possible. So how do you think, we'll go back to Avan. Avan, what do you think he's going to do to try to prevent this vehicle from going wherever it's going?
Is the agent close enough to see it, or?
Yeah, so he lands right in front of it. It slams on the brakes like, maybe 5 feet away from him. And then they start flooring it in reverse directly away.
Well, these things are basically Terminators, but with better suits. So I think it would chase after it, like using its agent speed and all that, just to go Terminator running after it.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and roll. We'll make that an athletics and body roll for him, which is going to be a d20 and a d20 for me.
Oh, rip. My first d20 was a nat 20.
Well, there you go. Roll that again. So they got an 18 on their drive.
Agent Mitch, Agent Face got a 32.
32. So he takes off running, gun still in hand, running straight at this vehicle. They're flooring it in reverse as fast as they can. And what happens is they're literally flooring it back straight at this kind of concrete wall, and they end up shattering through that out onto this back patio, just at full speed. What happens is the agent runs directly at it and starts to overtake this vehicle, and then dives and with his free hand snatches a wheel off the front of the vehicle, and that wheel just kind of goes flying to the left. He kind of dives, snatches that wheel off, rolls, and then it kind of enters a low crouch ready to fire at them as they try to continue speeding off across this little courtyard rooftop. And they're heading for this edge, so they're gonna slam through the fence here, or the wall, and just continue on to try to get down to street level, even with this tire being snatched off and rolling away. So that front end is dragging now at this point. Sparks are flying. They're currently reloading machine guns in the back seats as well. The old man is kind of just laid across the back seat with his hands covering his head. So let's see here. Their situation getting worse and worse. Gunshots still going off in the background. Maddie, as this this vehicle is just headed for the edge of this rooftop. What do you think the agent does then?
His priority is to rescue the chemist, right?
That's an interesting point. Let's go ahead and roll an insight check, and I can share some information with you. So go ahead and roll mind plus insight, which will be a D8 and a D10.
Okay. Got a 10.
10 total.
Mm-hmm.
So the information that this agent is being fed, the chemist is a high priority program. He is responsible for various like research on biochemical processes. So he likely is the program that would kind of quantify emotions on a chemical level so that they know how to like induce certain emotions. This plays into like just the system in general, where like they need to know from like a quantitative standpoint how to code certain emotions and have them come across and basically like transfer an interaction in the simulation to the body in the real world. So he's responsible for that. He's also responsible for like research into how to induce those emotions without having to have any actual interaction, so that they can control people easier, so they can just press a button and make you feel a certain way. That research is ongoing. It's very important research, but he is expendable. Like he could be replaced. He's a very old program.
So the
very good at what he
priority
does, but
is not to let them have it.
basically. And I think with that insight check, the important thing is you don't know why they want him.
They want to make a hyper drug. Well, I was gonna have him rip the door off and try to grab the guy, but I think he's more worried about killing all these fools at this point. So I think he would try to disable the car somehow. I know the windshield's broken, so maybe you can jump onto it and try to rip the steering wheel out.
Sure, I like that. Yeah. So go ahead and roll that athletics and body again, which I believe was 2 d20s for him.
Yeah.
Seems like a winning roll for now. They will just try to avoid you with their driving.
I will avoid my 26 nerds.
I rolled a 19, so they do try to kind of veer off to avoid a leap from the agent, but the agent manages to land on the hood and kind of grab where the hood meets the windshield, reach in, letting the gun drop, or do you think he would try to stow it?
Try to stow it, I
Try to
imagine.
stow it. Let's go ahead and roll to see if he can. Go ahead and roll a d20 plus just a d20 straight and try to beat a 5. Let's see.
Got a 6.
Okay, so yeah, he does manage to kind of awkwardly stow it mid-leap, land, grabbing the hood, reach in and just pull the steering wheel off as the vehicle and him kind of go over the edge and slam upside down on this lower portion here. Kind of, I imagine, probably running through most of this tree and then landing in a crash below. Let's see here. Running out of options here, my guy.
Yeah, what you can do?
So I think at this point, like the 2 other commandos that were, engaged back on this courtyard, probably are now rushing kind of to the edge just to see what's going on. But they're far enough out of the conflict that there aren't going to be much help. So yeah, I mean, at this point, what else do we even have? What do they do? Ain't good, my guy.
Surrender. Hands up.
I think we just got to try to get lucky, I guess. I mean, I think they probably bail out of the vehicle. One of them is dragging this chemist. They're probably in varying states of injury at this point, just from the wrecks. They bail out of this vehicle. They're trying to check weapons to make sure that they're functional. They're peeking around this car to see where the agent ended up, and I think the agent ends up like past the vehicle, but landing on his feet. The vehicle on its top. So they finally track him down. He's just kind of walking towards them menacingly. God, do they try to like? Yeah, I think all I have is like more firearms really at this point. So yeah, they'll just they'll just, you know, if their main weapons aren't working, they draw sidearms and just keep firing at this guy just to try to make something happen. So what do you think the agent does as he's just walking him down, Riley?
If they're fire, we still have our gun, right?
Yeah, so he stowed that weapon in his jacket, so he has a gun.
Right. Can we try to shoot faster than they can if they're checking their weapons?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so
that's.
So go ahead and roll firearms for them. That'll be a d20 plus a d10 for you guys. And I will go ahead and roll. Yeah, we can't really drive anymore because there isn't a vehicle left.
That is a 25 total.
Very nice. Finally got an explode. 17. 22. I rolled a 22. What did you roll?
25.
25. Okay. So they're again masterfully, in just moments, check firearms, get them shouldered, start firing. At the same moment, the agent draws his handgun. One shot kills one of them. You see just a bullet through the cheek. He lays out on the ground. The other two kind of are trying to move around the vehicle to at least put that in between them and the agent. The third one is grabbing the chemist and kind of dragging him along the ground. I think at this point the chemist is laughing, like maniacally, which probably makes them drag him a little bit harder just because he's laughing at them in this moment. So I think we're going to call an audible. At this point, they're down to 3 guys. This agent's bearing down on them. One of the commandos takes some sort of a device. It's kind of an arm wrap, but it has some sort of strange kind of puck-shaped device strapped to it with a red kind of gleaming light and a button. And he takes that strap off and straps it to the chemist's arm, and then like will punch him in the mouth to break his jaw, and hit the button, and the chemist goes invisible. And so he's basically trying to like knock this guy out so he can't yell for help, and turn him invisible so that we can get away. The man that's dragging him also will activate his device on his arm. So the man dragging him and the chemist go invisible, and they're just going to try to escape via stealth. The other two turn back around and just kind of reserve themselves to being like killed by this agent. They do continue to try to fire at him as best as they can just to distract. But yeah, they're just calling like a Hail Mary. One of them's going to get out of this encounter, potentially. So Avan, they try to hide that from your view as much as possible. But do you think the agent just continues to kind of walk them down and shoot at them, or what do you think? What tactic does he take?
Is there any way the agent could have been like, I saw you do that and I can figure out where you're going?
Yeah, I mean, we could do like a stealth versus awareness roll, for sure.
That's what I do, because it feels like the agent's like, yeah, okay, you people are beneath me. I want the chemist.
Yeah, I get you. So yeah, go ahead and roll that. That will be a D10 plus a. I think that'll be a D10 plus a D10 for him, and I'm doing spirit for the agent because again, this is like serving your function. Yeah, that
24
feels like that makes sense for me. And then what was there?
These Cthulhu dice are good.
They're doing it for you guys. Let's see. Oh, so close. 11 and 9 is 21, and you roll a 24.
Correct.
Okay. So I think what happens is they start laying down suppressing fire kind of on the edge of this vehicle. So not really even firing at the agent, just putting down a lane of fire to try to prevent him from moving around the vehicle and seeing what's going on. they do this process of making the chemist unconscious and invisible, and they start dragging him, circling around the vehicle to try to just get out into the street and away from the situation. What happens is the agent doesn't fall for this trick at all. He circles the other way and reaches out and grabs the invisible commando by the throat, and is just kind of holding him about a foot off the ground. The invisible chemist, laying at his feet. He might even just kick at him to check that he's still there. And he just kind of levels his firearm at the other edge of the car, waiting for these other commandos to show themselves. We're in trouble, my guys. And I think those commandos just end up peeking out around that other edge, seeing what's happening, seeing that there's, and he's clutching air, but really tightly, and there's a man grunting in that general direction. They'll start to fire in that general direction, because they don't have anything else they can do. So, Maddie, how do you think the agent responds in this scenario?
Probably moves the body around so they're firing directly into their friend's back.
Yeah.
And returns fire.
So yeah, D20 plus a D20, and then it'll just be in athletics to see if he can manage to just put that in the way. And we'll roll firearms to see if they can hit him anyways.
So, hold on. I'm great at math. 33.
I rolled a 15. So yeah, he just moves this, invisible man over, and he's riddled with bullets now. You see blood kind of spraying out from the gunshots and rolling down this invisible form. But the agent is fine, isn't hit by that at all. They run out of ammunition. They're checking pouches. Don't have any mags left for their mains, so they start pulling out sidearms. Now the question is, did they kill the chemist? He went through all this trouble, and they might just be like, "Wow, fuck it, just ice the guy." I don't know.
One last act of defiance.
Yeah, I think like the mental math that's going through their head is, we've fucked up this chance, and this program is going to be heavily protected from now on. So maybe if we kill him, the new program that they bring in to like serve that function maybe will be less protected.
Of course, that's how that works.
But yeah, like also maybe not. Maybe they would just like, I don't know. They're shit out of luck. Those damn security guards. I think all they have left is to just continue to try to shoot this guy. Stealth isn't working out. Or do they cut and run? Yeah, so I think what happens is one of them will go invisible. He kind of touches the device on his arm and goes invisible. The other one will just do a firearms roll, though. So he draws a sidearm, checks it, and peeks out and will pop off a few shots in the agent's direction. The agent can either continue holding this man in front of him, or he can take some other tactic. Riley, what do you think he's gonna do?
I don't know. Let's try to make him shoot his friend, and then return fire if we can.
Okay. Yeah. So go ahead and roll firearms for him. That'll be a D10 plus a D20.
Is his blood also invisible?
No. So the blood is just kind of pouring down the invisible form and dripping into the
Oh, healthy.
I like that.
That's a 22.
Okay, I can do this. Keep losing.
Why do I get the feeling we were supposed to lose this little encounter and we've just
I was
destroyed
really
the
hoping
plot?
that the stealth was gonna pan out, and then it didn't, and like the security guard saw them, and then from there it's like we're fucked. Okay, yeah, no, that's gonna be a no. So yeah, he pops off shots, trying to like aim for legs or anything. He's just missing. The concrete around the agent, kind of behind him, is exploding from the shots, but nothing strikes home. He just, if a bullet even, is going to contact his leg, he simply picks it up and isn't hit by it anymore. Sidearms running out. This commando that it's visible, he just kind of looks at this empty sidearm and back at the agent, back at the sidearm, and like puts that to the ground, and like will go for a knife in his belt and take out a knife and just kind of point it at him. And I think the last play they have is as the agent kind of lets this figure drop to the ground and starts to kind of walk towards this figure, towards the car. The invisible commando will, now having climbed on top of the vehicle, will leap at him with a knife from above, and invisible just hoping that this pans out for him. And the other commando kind of head fakes and then goes in for a stab as well. So they're kind of trying to get kind of a 90-degree flank going with one of them invisible, hoping that pans out. And so what Avan, probably potentially the last roll. If they fail this one, they're dead, and the whole plot fails here. Which Riley, we had some other vignettes like this. One was a failure and one was a success. So we'll see if this one pans out for them. Avan, what do you think?
We did so good, but you couldn't keep up with us.
Yeah, that's very true. Avan, what do you think the agent does in this last roll?
Does the agent have any idea that he's coming for him?
Well, I guess that kind of depends.
So I was thinking no, because I feel like the agent was like, all right, I got the chemist, beat Boop, mission success.
I think that's up to you, because we didn't make a roll for it. That'd be like an awareness roll. I'm adding the stealth to this guy's brawl roll to see if the stealth will help him. So if you wanted to take like an awareness approach, you could, and then we could describe what that looks like. Basically, he would be, rather than like taking an action, he's like defending. He's like reacting to what's happening. Right?
Yeah, I think that's what he'd do. He'd defend, because I don't think logically he'd be like, "Up there you are, time to die."
Okay. Yeah. So go ahead and roll a d20 and a d10 for me. And then so commando, d10.
Oh dear. Oh shit. Agent Smitty isn't doing too good today. He just got an 8.
Okay. Finally
boy.
got something.
Oh boy.
And then we're adding a d6 for that guy. Not great. Hey, we finally got it. So 29. So 32 for the invisible guy. The visible commando again kind of head fakes and goes in for a stab. The agent just kind of catches like the hand that the knife is in and snaps it backwards, and his forearm kind of snaps at an odd angle, and he kind of cries out in pain and drops to his knees with just the hint of a smile as his buddy leaps invisible kind of onto the guy's back and stabs down kind of into the top collarbone with his knife and jams it in there and is twisting actively, and you can see blood spurting out, and you're just seeing his hand kind of illuminated by this blood. Now the agent isn't dead. We don't get like one lucky roll and this guy's like dead. He's slightly less effective now. He kind of just looks down, with sunglassed eyes, looks at his, I guess it would be his right shoulder, looks at his right like clavicle, with just the hint of like displeasure on his face. So at the moment, Commando has his knife in the clavicle, kind of arm around the neck. His feet are touching the ground now at this point, but he basically has him from behind. The other Commando is again like limp arm on one knee in front of him. Gosh, what do we do from here? I think at this point, I'll go ahead and say that the other two commandos that were not injured earlier have repelled, or at least found some stairs. Potentially there's some stairs. Have found their way down to this level and are moving across the courtyard. They too have ditched primary weapons and have drawn sidearms and are kind of moving in on the situation. They're not active like this round, but they will be here fairly shortly. So what does the agent do? He kind of can look over his shoulder and see in the distance these two men moving towards him. He knows he has an invisible guy on his back and a halfway incapacitated commando in front of him. Maddie, what do you think he does in this moment?
Gosh. I'm trying to think.
I'm cheering for the faithless mercenaries right now. I don't know about you guys.
They're doing their best, man.
I'm just out here living my best life. I think he would try to, like, rip the knife out of his neck and try to kill the guy on his back with it,
I like it.
maybe? Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead. I think that'd probably be a brawl roll. So go ahead and roll a d12 now. So this is his body die has been reduced by 1 by being stabbed viciously in the neck. A d12 plus a d20 for brawl for him. Commandos are gonna, the two commandos that are still alive are just gonna try to brawl back with him. So they're gonna roll theirs.
Roll a fat 6.
Hey, we're getting somewhere, guys.
Go Commandos, go!
I know all your friends are basically all dead, but like, let's see here, in a d12. So you rolled a 6. Come on, we can do it. No, we can't do it.
You didn't beat a 6?
I'm gonna roll. They have a little bit of adversity built up, so I'm gonna roll a d4 for them. They rolled a 4 total, to be clear.
Come on, agents.
That's a 1. So, what happens is the agent kind of, grabs with one hand grabs the knife, with his other kind of reaches back and grabs the guy kind of by the scruff of his neck or the back of his vest, and pulls him up and over and flips him down in front of him, and the two commandos kind of land in a heap. The commando that has his arm broke just, kind of gets a man thrown on top of him, but he does reach for the knife on the ground, which was, dropped when his arm was snapped. He reaches for it with his left hand. It does swipe at the agent's knees, and manages to cut like his pant legs, but doesn't do any demonstrable damage.
Oh, our suit.
And the agent kind of takes a step back now from these two men in a heap, and then again off over his shoulder to his left are commandos moving in. They will, not understanding probably what's going on, not knowing that the chemist is, invisible and unconscious on the ground. They're going to start trying to communicate what's going on, so they start yelling at each other, where their VIP is. And they start to, again, just try to fire sidearms in a suppressing fashion, just to try to get some distance. I think the one invisible commando is gonna try to grab the chemist and get across the street. While the one with the snapped arm, I think he's reserved himself to death at this point, so he again goes in with his offhand with a knife attack just to try to gain some sort of distraction. So Riley, what do you think the agent does at this point? He has one guy kind of rushing him with a knife, a few others firing at him. Again, there's no regard for hitting their own men. Like, they're just firing as accurately as they can, even though their man is coming in with a knife.
Yeah, I think I just maybe don't want to deal with a knife in my face right now, though. So I think I just kind of want to see if I can disarm this guy and maybe take him out with his own knife, ideally.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and roll brawl. So that would be a d12 plus a d20 for me.
That is not great. That is going to be an 11.
Okay, we have a chance. We don't have a chance. It's 5, and I gotta add...
We all suck.
So, I have to add these guys as firearms, which is a d10. So I need a 6 or higher on this d10. We got a 1. Okay, so they're taking shots with the sidearms. The commando goes in for a knife attack. He kind of stretches out with a knife. Agent just kind of steps to the side, lets that knife pass by him, scoops the arm up under his arm, and kind of palm strikes the guy in the face and just kind of knocks him out. So he has a knocked out commando kind of just held by the arm in front of him. And then these shots ring out from the side. He takes a step back and starts to, again, dodge these bullets, which just impact the vehicle. But the commando that is at his feet, now knocked out, does get hit several times and falls down. Unclear whether those were like kill shots, but he's incapacitated and is not moving at this point. I think the agent does hear the sound of, a body being drug up off the concrete and thrown over the shoulder. He might even see the remnants of blood on this invisible commando's hand from the knife strike earlier, and probably still, blood pooled on the knife itself. He has still in his hand. Avan, what's the play? Do we go for the guys popping off shots, or do we go for the invisible folks?
I still think invisible folks. I feel like the agent's kind of done enough to try to get this chemist, who's going to try to get the invisible folk.
Okay, and how so? Bodily,
following the blood.
Oh, so
I think he's chasing.
Yeah. Okay, so do you think he'll definitely get to them this round? So once he does get to them, what do you think he does?
He seems to be a physical guy. Let's say he's gonna punch. He's gonna try to just grab the guy who grabbed him, just try to finish this.
Sure. So yeah, go ahead and roll that brawl roll, which is a d20 plus a d12 at this point. And we're just gonna.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I got a 6.
We're struggling. We have a chance, my guys. Let's see here. So let's see if the firearm does it by itself. It does, and it explodes. So that's a 9. 19 plus another explode, 29. 37 for them. So what happens is the agent kind of rounds and sees just barely this invisible figure moving, trying to cross the street here. And he takes a step in their direction, and a lane of bullets pass in front of him, and he's forced to again step back, not take cover, and just move in this kind of blurry fashion and dodge all these bullets. But he's successfully being suppressed at this moment, and you see that the commandos that are suppressing him have taken up kind of kneeling positions and are firing shots off slowly to try to give as much of a gap as possible. And the agent does see, just through this supernaturally fast motion, does see these invisible figures kind of disappearing in the distance. I think the commando's smart enough to drop the knife and try to clean off his hand as best as possible, while he's kind of carrying the chemist over his shoulder. And so he's going to try to, enter, a hidden, status. If we were in D&D, he's going to try to break line of sight across the street here and lose this agent as quickly as possible. So potentially, a second to last roll. Maddie, what does the agent do to ameliorate this situation?
Is he still getting fired at? Or...
Yes, so he's actively being suppressed from crossing the street. He sees this invisible form clear off his hand and start moving across the street. Might be able to hear footfalls, but over his shoulder, these commandos are still firing just to keep him pinned down.
Is there any way to break line of sight with them?
Yeah, so there's the vehicle next to him that he could just take a step back and be behind that as cover.
Yeah.
Additionally, there's these trees here.
The vehicle next to him, and then try to keep cover between himself and the commandos as he runs. Or he can run pretty fast, so.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Let's see here. What kind of roll would that be? Yeah, I think that'd just be athletics. So you could go ahead and roll a d12 plus a d20 for me. My guy is going to try to just escape via stealth.
He has to beat a 12.
12? Not bad. Okay, so I have d10 for firearms, d12 for body, and I need a d10 for stealth. In the background, my cat and dog are wrestling. I don't know if you can hear that.
Aw, I heard a little
It's a
meow.
pitched battle at the moment.
Oh yeah, who's winning?
Probably Cat. He tends to win. The wiener dog just gives up and starts shrieking the instant she's not winning. So
My spirit at me.
So 19 total for him. So what happens is, I think at this point, we'll make one more roll just to kind of confirm this result. So Riley, go ahead and just roll an awareness roll for me, which will for him be a D10 and a D8. And we'll roll one more stealth for them just to confirm that they can slip by. D10.
13.
13, not bad. Okay, so that's a 9 and a 6 is 15, so they just barely get by. So what happens is the agent takes a step back and, like, you know, fixes the sunglasses, fixes the tie. This is about as emotional as he probably gets throughout this entire encounter. Just a little bit of frustration, kind of fixes the lapel, you know, pulls on the cuffs, redraws the firearm, takes a step out and very confidently just fires 2 shots and downs both those commandos that are shooting at him. He then strolls quickly across the street just to the intersection here and takes a peek at all 3 directions and doesn't get a bead on the location. We see that he says something into his cufflink microphone, and then kind of at that moment you see cop cars kind of swarming in from all directions in the area. Just to round that encounter out, over the next few hours there, of course, cops enter the area. There's detectives kind of going over every inch of the area. They set up a perimeter with, you know, crime scene tape and that sort of thing. A black SUV pulls up, kind of a middle-aged man, very well built. We've seen him out in some of the past vignettes. He gets out of the car, flanked by 2 agents. They approach the perimeter there, and a patrol officer like stops them. The agents flash badges, and the patrol officer kind of nods and allows them to pass. But as the man starts to pass, he doesn't flash any badge, and he's just in kind of plain clothes. The patrol officer stops him because he hasn't shown any credentials, and the agents kind of put a hand on the patrol officer's shoulder and say, and like basically vouch for him, just with like a stern look. And so he's allowed to pass through this perimeter. They kind of just look over the scene. The older kind of middle-aged gentleman, though, he seems to be particularly focusing on the courtyard, whereas like the police are mainly focused in the building trying to get information. He happens to overhear, as detectives are passing, that the assailants didn't show up on video camera until they were exiting the building. So their entire infiltration, they were not on any cameras. And the middle-aged gentleman kind of starts to put things together, and just kind of out loud with these agents behind him says, they must have Horizon constructing cloaking devices of some kind. And he shows just a bit of frustration with like kind of a tense jaw. And he starts to kind of walk off towards their SUV in the garage. And angrily, as he's going, kind of grabs one of the agents by the cuff and kind of puts the mic in his cuff next to his face to speak. And he says, I want all of the chemist's files on my desk by the time I get back. If he so much as spilled coffee on somebody else's file folder, I want it on my desk. And he kind of throws the agent's hand away. And one of the agents on the opposite side of him says, sir, those are all analog files. It'll take a few. And he kind of cuts him off and says, if they have cycles to spend, they better spend them now and get those files on my desk, or they won't be spending them later. And as they get into their SUV, he again says to one of the agents, have Panopticon arrange a meet. I know they won't agree to anything. It won't come of anything, but we need to at least appear that we're trying to resolve this peacefully. They kind of speed off to wherever they're going. So that was longer than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
little more involved. They got what they needed, though, eventually. Lost all but one of their men. I think at the moment we'll go back to Hovercraft Yanis. Again, still just parked in the remains of an area in Washington called Four Corners. Hidden, safe. Most of the systems are shut down just to save power, so it's fairly cold in here. You see Hayden is doubled up on sweaters again and has like a wool cap on. She suffered quite a bit of damage last time. Dino, you see she's very quick to go get some food, get some water. She's clearly like starving all of a sudden. And she asks you just kind of flat out eventually. She's quiet for quite a while, Dino, and then she does just kind of come out and say, how do you think Haywire got so good at hurting people? Like, is it a download? Like, how did she do that?
Haywire is Haywire? That's all I really can give you, honestly.
And she just kind of shakes her head like, that's not a good enough answer for me, but I guess.
I'm sorry, I haven't sat Haywire down and be like, hey, Haywire, why are you good at killing things? Can you give me a detailed explanation?
And Hayden kind of looks at you like, that to me seems like a natural question to ask when your friend starts just excellently brutalizing people.
Yes, that's exactly why I don't ask, because my friend Haywire is very, very good at her job, so I don't think I need to.
She just kind of nods and is like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And so, yeah, over the course of the next few hours, I'll be trying to insert little moments with Hayden where she's trying to recoup some of the damages she's lost, just to get those stats back up. But I think to start, she eats a lot, drinks a lot of water, and I think you notice that she'll reach for things and then kind of flinch, expecting her hand to be horribly broken, because we know in the last combat Haywire brutally broke her hand. Her hand is in fact like bruised, but the bones aren't broken, but her memory of that event is strong enough that she expects there to be a whole lot of pain when she goes to pick something up, and then kind of realizes like, oh wait, it's not, and it happens like multiple times. She's like, oh wait, that's not broken, okay, and then she like just picks up something.
Oh goody, we broke the new girl again.
It's frequent occurrence.
Otherwise they'll never learn.
And then Dino, I think you're probably on watch that night to start, and this is when you're kind of browsing Reddit and other rumor centric websites, and you come upon a flyer that we included in one of the puzzles a few weeks back. Let me bring that up here.
Having strange dreams.
Indeed. So you see this kind of strange flyer. There's varying accounts online of people seeing this posted and then commenting like, oh yeah, I've totally seen that guy. There's like this weird familiarity that everyone feels with this face for some reason. I know it's kind of up to you whether you felt that familiarity. I'll leave that up to you, Avan.
No, Dino didn't.
Okay. But so you're just like, okay, this is kind of strange. But I think the thing you hit on as you're just sitting there at the console is the name Mercury Falls is strangely similar to Medellin Falls, which is the town that Virgil has brought to your guys' attention. And you're like, oh, is this... Like, I think there's that voice in the back of your brain that goes, if this is one of those synchronicities and I keep seeing this everywhere, I'm going to be so mad because this isn't supposed to work. Like... I'm
going to be furious if the FK was right.
Yeah, and it's like... and then you're like... Part of you is probably like, I don't want to check into this. You put it away for a little while, and then 10 minutes later you come back to it because you have to check. And you do check. The area code you find is in that area of Washington, so like everything is kind of checking out, and you don't find anything that's specifically connected to the Meadowlane Falls area, but you're like, if we go there and I see this thing around town or whatever, I'm gonna be so angry. Like,
I'm gonna be pissed.
I think Mags just is walking by and kind of sees you and comes over and says, "Hey, you look like you saw a ghost. Everything okay?"
Oh, nothing. Just seems that my former teacher's lesson might actually be correct, so I'm a bit upset.
And she just kind of looks over your shoulder and like gets a shiver and says, "Yeah, that's really unsettling."
Have you seen this man in your dreams?
She kind of looks at it and tries to think. And she says, "No, I don't think so, but there is something weirdly familiar about it. Strange."
She's been infected.
And she just kind of looks, she just kind of like looks over the text and says like, "Oh, that's weird. Have you tried calling that number?"
That seems like something to do back when we're inside. I'm just worried if we call, we're going to summon the machines to us.
She just kind of nods and says, "Yeah, that's fair." Then she just says, "Do you have any ideas as far as how we're going to get into this town?"
I think we're driving, aren't we? I could have sworn we talked about driving there.
And she said, "Yeah, I mean, road trip, but I mean as far as your cover story."
Right. I don't think suspected mass murderer will fly in this town.
She kind of nods.
Some sort of federal agent, maybe. I don't know. These locals probably like that thing. I don't know.
She kind of like thinks, and she's like, "Yeah, I could maybe code up some badges of some sort. It's kind of reliant on you guys being able to sell it, though. You know what I mean? I mean, Haywire is fairly young. I think that might be a leap for some people, but it is a small town. Who knows?"
I'll talk to Haywire about that. Maybe she has some sort of plan.
She kind of nods and says, I think she just kind of gives you a look over and like hands you a little canteen of water and like just gives you a look like, "Drink that," and then just kind of heads off into the bowels of the ship to sleep or something.
Oh my, is Dino gonna die or something? Everyone's being so nice to him.
I think that's telling that his like, because there is always those moments in movies where you're like, "Oh, they're having a touching moment right now. That guy's surely he's dead in this next scene."
Absolutely,
yeah.
Dino takes out a picture of a beloved loved one.
It's just a picture of himself.
Yeah, it's his glossy 5x5.
Oh my.
And then Haywire, you suffered like one die of damage. How do you think Haywire would try to like recoup something like that? You have
Working out.
So the response is, "I wasn't strong enough," and so she just goes and pumps weights.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I think Hayden kind of walks past you as you're doing that. Where in the ship do you think you're doing something like that? In your room or like?
Probably just, I don't know, out in the galley. I can't imagine she's, trying to be very
stealthy. Okay. So I think Hayden just kind of walks past you and like there's a moment of like, "Oh, this makes sense. Like, oh, this is why she's so good at killing things." Like her response to a brutal fight is to train more. Okay. And I think she there's probably a moment of like, "Oh, should I join?" And then she kind of like takes inventory of herself and is like, "There's no way," and she just continues on wherever she's headed.
She doesn't even want a spot for me. Rude. What a little bitch.
Yeah, I
mean, she did just get gunned down by gangster ducks. I'd be pretty upset too.
She got beat to unconsciousness. and
Gunned
shot.
down by gangster ducks. It happens. You gotta bounce back.
That's true. So yeah, I think if there isn't anything you guys want to necessarily discuss that night, you take some sleep, wake up the next morning. You kind of enter central command and control area, and it's Mags just says I can pull up a map if that helps. What do you guys think?
Well, I vote for the federal agents thing. I think it's our best bet.
Yeah, she says it's not a bad idea.
Wanna be electricians or something?
And it could be too, because the thing that's drawing you to the area is the power substations, but how exactly you go about investigating that is kind of up to you. I'll just, something that she would bring up is payphones. That your main entry and exit is often like a hotel, because that always comes with a landline. But there are some payphones in the area. The blue ones are payphones that Justin found but have been removed because you can't find them on Google Maps. The green ones are ones that I don't know about. I don't know whether they've been removed because I can't see on Google Maps whether they're there. But there is one payphone that for sure exists. So the Medellin Falls area is just there, and down the road from it is a payphone.
Oh, hell yeah.
So if you were to,
How high tech.
want another exit, that would be an option. I imagine that the payphones that have been removed, I think are negotiable. Basically meaning if you were to get into a situation where you needed that payphone to be there, there'd be a roll made whether you believe it's there or not, and if you roll successfully, it will be there. It's just that any payphone that you want to use as an entry or exit needs to be compromised, so you need to place a little device in it without being noticed and such. Much easier in a hotel room. You just keep housekeeping out and you can set up whatever you want in there. But as far as public exits, this is kind of the only one available.
Electricians would be messing around with payphones.
And Mag says, it would be, as a Fed, we would be investigating these outages. This makes sense.
We could do I am Federal Agent Federal Frederickstein, and this is my scientist friend. We're here to investigate your power problems.
Good work, she says. I like that idea.
Am I the science friend?
Yes, Haywire, you're the science friend.
Technical term.
No much science.
Also, that is a technical term. I have my doctorate in science friendship, so.
Where'd you
Can I
get
be your
that?
bodyguard instead?
I'm a bit too pretty to be a bodyguard.
Oh, I would be your bodyguard.
Hayden just says, do many federal agents need bodyguards?
It's pretty, and therefore he needs one.
Of course.
Kind of just nods in agreement. That checks out.
Hey, Max, does this town have any tourism by chance?
She says, well, I've just kind of been checking out the area. There is a visitor center just with some general information about the area. Let's see here. I got all kinds of things in here. Visitor center. So that's the main town here. There's also kind of a satellite town called Medellin over here. I'm just going to call them, Medellin Falls because it just makes sense. Let's see, what else is there?
Stay at home.
And she says, it is a small town. There isn't a ton. There's a golf course kind of up the road. Let's see, what else is there? She's I think the things that she looks at first and foremost is where's the nearest hospital? Where's the nearest cop shop. Like, where are all the local like police stations? She says there's a couple different options for like getting a hotel. Most of them are motels, except for there's kind of a definitely not 5-star, but like 3-star approaching 4-star hotel. It doesn't get a ton of business, but it like got put in the 80s when they were kind of hoping that things would be a little bit more lively in the area. So she says, there's kind of all different kinds of accommodations. We could go super cheap, or we could go nicer. The benefits of nicer is you're gonna like run into more local people. The nicer hotel has like a bar that people frequent in the area. Money's not really a problem, so you don't have to worry about that stuff. So yeah, like golf course up the way. I believe they have a lot of camping. Let's see here. They have like a local haunted house that is an attempt to like
bless my stars,
get tourists. It used to be a bank, then was a hotel. Now is just kind of not used.
You're gonna go parkour in that dining?
Oh, you know it.
So like a lot of the stuff is on this main street here.
Well, I was asking because if we could be like, we are tourists in the area doing touristy things.
And she kind of, a light bulb goes off and say they do have a yearly Bigfoot festival, but that's in June. So that's like the only thing that would draw people to town. This is very real. You can look it up. They have a Bigfoot festival in June or July, but it is like January at the moment.
That's perfect.
Movie theater.
We can be Bigfoot people. No, I'm serious. Those people are lunatics, and anyone with a brain would be like, yes, I'm going to avoid you. Don't look me in the eyes, please. So if we're puttering around by the power station, like, we're looking for Bigfoot.
Hayden just says, so are we camping? Is like that are we going to go camping and searching for Bigfoot, quote unquote? And,
no, genius, we're not looking for Bigfoot. He's real, though.
He is real.
Hayden just kind of like gives you a look like she can't tell whether you're being real or not. And Mags just says there is plenty of like campgrounds and wilderness stuff to explore. Of course, you could always just wander off into the woods, but so I'll just highlight all of the. Let's see, all of the different parking areas. They do have an airport. It's a very small one here on this lake. But it is technically an airport. You could fly there.
The federal identification is backup if we need to get into somewhere more secure.
Yeah, that could work. Meg says kind of the only other attractions I can think of. They have, churches in the area. They love their God out in that side of Washington. They also have like a community theater, so they put on like, small scale plays. There's like a couple bars in the area, a couple different cafes that you could go to just to talk to locals. It's always good just to like get an idea of who's in the area.
Sounds like we have a plan.
And then I didn't hear about the last thing to decide before a road trip begins is what kind of accommodations did you want? Low-key accommodations or straight to the like largest one in the area?
I vote the nice stuff, because if we suddenly like slink into town and go to the cheap motel, that might draw attention.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so it's just called the Horned Owl Hotel. And it's out of town, just to the north a little ways, overlooking like a small waterfall. Is it farther north than that? There it is. So it's up here a little ways. The travel time I think is like about an hour, if I remember, or no, 30 minutes. So it is a little bit out of town.
Let's stay at the motel.
Yeah, like there's a motel here, right at the edge of town. There's ones to the south as well, I believe.
Maybe the motel is the better option. Do you think they'll care if we mess around with the phones?
Mag says, just put the do not disturb sign on the door.
Ugh, this has got to be a new low for me.
At least we have a place to sleep.
Yes, the good ship Janus.
I think Hayden is just happy that she doesn't have to camp. She's like, oh, hell yeah. We have a roof? That's excellent.
Right.
And then Mags just says, what do we want to check out in the area first once we get there?
Maybe check the town itself? I don't know, it just seems odd that the machines would care about some itsy-bitsy little town in Washington.
And that's like Mags is kind of like, she's rubbing her eyes and she's like, yeah, I mean, I tried to get a hint of like anything actually remarkable about this place, and it just doesn't come across. Like, so I don't really have a suggestion to where to start, because it just seems like a small town to me. There's nothing obvious that would jump out at me as a reason for agents to stay away from this place. I don't know.
Speaking of agents, did Agent Gray ever get back to Dino and be like, yeah, here's a little bit of information? Because I think he said he was going to.
Yeah, so he hasn't. You could always shoot him a text if you wanted to. He just basically, I think the last thing he said was like, I'm not aware of that. I'll look into it or something.
It might be helpful to talk to him, but that can wait till we actually go on the trip.
Sure.
Right, so let's say the plan. Are we going as Bigfoot people or as agent types?
I vote for
Hayden
agent
says we
types.
could be both. We could do like an X-Files thing.
I
What's
think I can pull off a good Duchovny.
She just like looks at you and she says, does binging exist in the apocalypse? Is there a way that we can get Netflix on this? And she just like is pointing at the wall of screens that's surrounding you guys. Mags is like, yeah. I'm
Mags.
I think like you to the extent that like on a little note of tape that's just kind of taped to the edge of one of the monitors, there's like a list of like hacked usernames and passwords for various streaming services. Like,
Oh yeah.
he's like, I have to repopulate that list every few weeks, but
Dino needs his Disney Plus or else he gets very upset.
Bubs got locked out of the bedroom. Oh, she's so upset.
Poor girl.
Yeah, so any other considerations before going in? Anything specifically you guys want to bring with you that hasn't been mentioned already?
Our case.
Guitar
Sorry,
case.
that's already-
That one's kind of assumed.
I got
just
nothing.
Then I think I don't remember if we ever decided whether Hayden was going with you. So I think in the last moments, as you guys are kind of prepping, there's a moment where Hayden is kind of sheepishly just trying to like see whether she's being invited to enter or not. I think she's mostly looking at you, Haywire.
I don't know if Haywire ever clocks this, but if she does, she would say, "You're on my side this whole trip, alright?"
She just kind of nods, and she'll like make sure that she sits in the chair like right next to you, even at this stage of the plan.
When I say run, you run.
She kind of nods. And then I think there's like a moment while you guys are getting ready. The Dino, she just has a moment alone with you while they're kind of preparing things off across the room, and she says, why is Haywire's main driving goal to run away when she can fight the way she does.
You do remember Haywire's backstory, yes?
She kind of nods.
If I was in the same situation, I would want to run away as well.
Yeah, she kind of thinks about that. And I think there's these two competing ideas of like you can't be scared of anything when you just beat the shit out of it. Like how is... And then I think she's... At that, Dino, I think she realizes, like, run and scared aren't always the same thing, necessarily.
Correct.
Hallelujah, she's learned a thing.
She kind of, like, shrugs that off, because she's, like, not really ready to, like, accept that, because, again, like, she just wants to burn the whole world down at this point.
Okay, well, she may die in the process, but that's okay.
She shrugs her way through that revelation, and then you guys enter the construct and can head off on your road trip. It's something like 6 to 8 hours of drive time. Unfortunately, there's no fast forward button, so you are forced to actually process all that time. And I think Riley will jump to you just before we go to a break for a moment. Emerson Miller, man. She's a astronomist, astrophysicist, spent time at University of Toronto, involved with their various wings of research, PhD candidate. I think we'll dive into more of the specifics in conversation likely, but she stumbles upon some discrepancies, specifically, surrounding data taken before the Apollo missions and after the Apollo missions. Discrepancies in kind of the accuracies of measurements. There's just some questions, and she goes out to kind of figure out why these discrepancies exist. Doesn't really find a conclusion to that. She brings it to the attention of her team. They just kind of laugh at her. Or they chalk it up to faulty equipment, inaccurate equipment, human error. I think there's like kind of they're assuming there's like a cowboy mentality with these old measurements where they were just slinging rockets into space. So, it makes sense to them that some of the stuff would be just a little off. I think, personally, I know stories about physicists that would put the incorrect units on a piece of work and horrible things would happen. So I think they chalk it up to those kind of errors. That doesn't really satisfy you very much because you're like, well, I can do these measurements now and they're different. You bring this to the attention of your team leadership, you kind of get the same answer. You bring this to the head of the department, you get the same answer. You bring this to the head of the Toronto astronomy program, and I think at that point, the team stages an intervention, and they're like, "Hey, this is not a worthwhile route to go down. You have a promise. The work here we do matters. If you keep spending all your time, doing this stuff, it's not good. It's kind of a waste. It just eats at you, man. It's not enough. You start, kind of probably anonymously at first, kind of shotgunning this stuff on the web just to see if it gets any traction. And so after, again, a lot of awkward conversations, a lot of rejection, jeopardizing your career, you get a call from the U.S. Air Force, or at least who they say they're the U.S. Air Force. As far as you can tell, the correspondence they give you is legit by any measure that you can make, and they want you to basically come into one of their installations and discuss the research. And this is kind of the first yes that you've gotten in this process. You're expecting them to be like suspicious, but it's like a cracked door kind of feeling. So I think you pack up, you start driving across Canada. At this point, like, this process has been a drain on your funds that you can't necessarily afford a flight. They agree to compensate you for travel. They just give you the savior receipts, give them to us, we'll compensate you for the return trip as well. So you start driving on a little road trip all by yourself. You go from Toronto all the way across Canada and down through the border to a little town called Medellin Falls.
That town.
Explaining that at the border is a little bit of a tough, awkward conversation that you're going to liaison with a foreign government. So you kind of explain that away gently. And I think, as you cross the border and you're entering town, it's late at night, sun has set. At this point, I think you're probably pretty out of it, just kind of daydreaming and going through the motions of driving. And you start to have kind of a strange daydream. I don't know if these are common for you. That's something that you can decide. But you start to kind of, you're not sure where it's coming from, but you're picturing what looks like a projection room for a movie theater. And you start to notice strange patterns in the walls, strange patterns in the floor. It's almost like your vision is zooming in and out. These patterns are kind of fractal in nature. A man kind of enters from the side, an older gentleman, and starts to set up a projection with a reel of film that somehow feeds back to itself, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. It starts to project a film out kind of the door or the window there, and you just kind of turn your head to take a peek. What's playing out looks like a evening overlooking a forest. No structures in sight, just trees as far as you can see, and an orange glow across the kind of horizon of wildfire, and you see sparks and kind of smoke flying up, and you start to hear the cries of somebody moving through the forest, large groups of people, not in any language you understand. Just at a bird's eye view, you see primitive humans fleeing a wildfire, and one steps out of the crowd towards the wildfire, picks up a branch that's on fire, and he kind of walks back towards the rest of his tribe with this torch, and they flee in fear of this man. And it's clear now in this moment that you're seeing like maybe the first human to ever use fire. One tribesman out of the group, this is an addition that Avan added in our last, maybe 2 sessions ago. One walks out of the crowd kind of confused and in awe of this, and reaches out and burns himself on the tip of the torch and kind of recoils. And then everything kind of just swims again. These like patterns zoom in and out. You suddenly find yourself at a shallow cave, and there's the two men have this torch, and they walk over to where some brush and a pile of branches have been placed by them at this entrance to the shallow cave, and they kind of stick the branch in the flames and start a small campfire, and they seem very happy. They can kind of like, they get a little close, maybe a little too close, get a little too hot, they step back, and they're kind of laughing and again in awe of this. And then one of them just kind of goes almost paralyzed, white in the face, and like kind of points in towards the cave with a shaky finger. And the other one kind of turns and also kind of freezes, and they just see their shadows on the wall, and they're terrified. and they flee off into the forest, just sprinting away from their own shadows. And then a moment later, a car coming at you flies past you. The lights kind of pull you out of this weird daydream as you wind your way down into the town. You check your text. All that's said is that they want to meet you immediately. They have like accommodations for you and everything, but they want to meet you at a local cafe downtown, and they give you an address. So you can drive there if you like, or you can stop somewhere else if there's something else you want to do first.
I don't think there's anything else I need to do first. I'm not here for Bigfoot, so.
So yeah, they say the Farmhouse Cafe is just on Main Street here. You pull up, find a parking spot. The street here is pretty empty. I think actually there's a street view potentially. There's a person.
Hi,
So
friend.
just pull up. It's over here on the right side. Maybe a better one. Maybe the front end of it. Let's see. Where's this one? There we go. You should pull up to this little cafe here. You enter. It's a very small room, just a couple seats. You see two gentlemen sitting at one of the tables already. Definitely who you're here to see. One is in kind of the navy-colored kind of official suit with, or like a what do they call it? Like a dress uniform with the chest of ranks and insignias. Older, he's probably pushing 70 at this point, but still like kind of short and stocky and stout. There's a younger man, probably like late 30s, sitting next to him. Shaved short hair. He's dressed very casually though, probably has like a graphic tee on. Very different than the other man. And they're both just sipping cups of coffee. And they kind of key in on you as you enter, and they just kind of give a wave and gesture for you to sit down with them.
Yeah, I'll sit with them. I think I probably leave most of my papers in a car just because I feel like this isn't the thing I want to like spread out on a cafe table.
Yeah.
But I'll bring myself in.
Because they have names, and I have to find them.
Yeah, if anyone spills coffee on these papers, I mean, I have digital copies, but I'll still be angry. I've probably not slept in like 3 days.
Relatable.
And I think you kind of notice that they seem to be probably in the same boat. Like I'm expecting like dark circles under their eyes. Like they definitely look well worn. They introduce themselves. The older man. Let's see here. What's his rank? So he introduces himself as Colonel Boone. And the younger man introduces himself as Captain Peth. They say with the Air Force transitioning into the Space Corps Force, and they kind of just like hand wave it like they don't want to talk about it. They say we have a small installation up the mountain here, just a small listening post. We run it. A portion of the research and observations that are conducted there are pertaining to space objects. We track a lot of space objects. I think you're kind of confused how they even found out those like anonymous postings are yours, and they just come clean. They're like, yeah, we tracked that traffic down to University of Toronto, and it was a quick phone call to figure out who was inclined to believe in something like that, or at least be asking those questions. And so Colonel Boone just kind of points over to Peth, and Peth says, listen, we're knowledgeable, we're former pilots, so we have some knowledge of these things, but explain it to somebody like a child. Like, just give me the like quick abbreviated version to see if we can go somewhere with it. And he just kind of gives you the floor.
Yeah, okay. And I think I take a second to figure out how to explain this to people who aren't space nerds.
Yeah.
And DM kindly help me rephrase if I'm misexplaining this like they're 5.
Yeah.
I was largely just reviewing data, and there are discrepancies in measurements from before and after the Apollo missions that aren't sitting right. And I don't think it's human error, because it feels, my gut, and I am not someone who tends to rely on that, is that these discrepancies are too precise and intentional to be human error.
They kind of just are nodding their way through this.
And I mean, I wouldn't be pushing this if I didn't think it were worth looking into, because it fucks with years of my research. But it looks like something was adjusted.
They just kind of are nodding. And I think like Peth goes, he kind of narrows his eyes and says like, but how would you even test something like that? You know, if the point is to ever carry out an experiment, how would you? And he just kind of trails off. I think Boone kind of cuts in and says, listen, we'll level with you here. Our installation, they call it the Rainbow Ranch, as in the Rainbow Ridge, the Rainbow Bridge, where dogs go to die. When your career is over, they send you where we work. So we don't really have anything to lose here. There isn't a lower rung on the ladder. And then Peth goes, okay, so if you had funding, I mean, where does this go? If you get whatever you need, where do we go?
I think the first thing I want is just like a very thorough review of all of the data we have from like since the Apollo mission. And just, I think if we could prove that the discrepancies aren't random enough to be mistakes, that would be a starting point, but I can't get the manpower to do that.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense that access is probably limited, and I think like Peth seems like a pretty practical person, and he instantly kind of goes, yeah, we would need like, I mean, numbers on a paper are one thing, but like we want people. Can we get, are any of those researchers still alive? And he just kind of trails off again. He's trying to figure out, okay, well, logistically, what do we need to get everybody into town, or on a Zoom call, or like, and then go ahead and roll awareness and mind for me, right?
Oh, so that's gonna be this guy, and we did put points in awareness. Good for me.
Hell yeah. Love that for you.
Thank you. Okay, it's gonna be these two. Math 13.
13, okay. I'm just gonna actually roll. I'm not gonna do a DC. Oops. That's what I wanted. Hey, there we are. Okay. Let's go. Oh, no, I think that's gonna be a spirit roll for him, actually. And then 13. I rolled a 12. So I think just to roll back the timeline just a little bit, for a majority of the way, kind of the last 3 hours of your drive, there was a car that, you felt like there was always a car in your rear view mirror, and it became more of a problem the darker it got, where, you have those headlights just beaming you in the rear view mirrors. And so I don't know if you put together, would somebody be following me? It wouldn't really be that kind of a thought that crossed your mind at that point. But then all of a sudden in this scenario, you start to get a little paranoid of like, I've gotten all these no's. I'm now sitting with Air Force people that seem to be like entertaining these ideas. You start to wonder, like, again, there's this idea that like maybe this is a variable that someone changed in regards to the physics, and then you start thinking, okay, maybe the way that people responded to this was also like kind of performative and kind of like the expected response. And so you start to get like that kind of paranoia going on, and then at that moment you see a car pull up out front, park right next to yours. A gentleman gets out. He's, maybe in his 50s. Hair is graying a little bit at the temples. He's wearing sunglasses in the middle of the evening. Black suit, black tie. He walks into the cafe and sits down at the opposite side of the cafe. And you're just kind of, glancing in that direction. He sits kind of very stiff, looking straight ahead. The waitress kind of awkwardly comes over to him, and he like moves his entire body to like look at her. He seems to stumble his way through ordering food. He kind of seems to pick the first thing on the menu, and that gets brought over a moment later. And it's I think with the awareness roll, it's like, okay, maybe that car was following me. Maybe this is the guy that's following me. But I'm also sitting with Air Force officials. So what's that about? And the feeling you're getting is the paranoia is growing because this man doesn't look at you. And in such a small cafe, why isn't he looking at least at his surroundings? Like there would just at least be glances, like that's a normal thing to have happen. And he's very like intently not looking at you. And you kind of just probably sink into your seat a little bit. Even if you don't recognize you're doing it, you're probably just sinking a little bit. I think we'll take a break there. We can do bio break and come back. See you soon. All right, so, gang, we are driving into town. You've been driving for 6 to 8 hours at this point, nonstop. You're coming into town at late at night. Order of operations: did we want to go for that payphone outside of town first, or do we want to go to the hotel first?
Payphone's on the way, right?
Yeah, just kind of in the south.
Should do that then.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it is like a
humble
little gas station. You can stop for gas. Who do you think would be best equipped to go place a device here? Meaning, who has the best stealth roll?
Don't let Haywire anywhere near devices.
Well, Dino has a D8, so let's go with Dino, yes?
Okay. So yeah, go ahead with body and stealth for me.
$14.
14. Okay. So you guys pull up to the gas station. You start grabbing some gas. Kind of thundering down the road. 3 motorcycles stop in. One of them starts getting gas. Another kind of goes into the gas station to grab some stuff. And Dino, as you kind of cross that direction, you very quickly get to the payphone, pop off both the receiver and the, what do you call the receiver? Is the earpiece, and the microphone. You pop off both ends of the phone.
Mouth part.
Clamp on 2 little, watch battery-sized devices. Put those back together. You maybe fake a phone call, and then you do check over your shoulder, and you see that one of these guys on the motorcycle isn't looking at you, but rather is looking at your guys' vehicle. I think Hayden runs in to also grab food or something. She comes back out with snacks. I think Mags has probably purposely placed some money, some spending cash in her in her pocket for her. So she's heading in for some snacks. And Haywire, what are you doing? Are you just staying in the vehicle or what?
Pulling down the beanie and holding down the fort.
Okay. So yeah, Dino, you see this one biker has taken interest in your guys' vehicle. And specifically, he tries to slyly take a picture of your guys' license plate.
I think Dino is going to actually talk to him. Be like, oh, hey there, friend. Can I help you?
Yeah, and he very quickly, pockets the phone. And he just kind of looks up at you and gruffly kind of just, cocks his head and says, oh, I just haven't seen you guys in town before. You new around here?
Oh, we're just tourists heading through. You know how it is.
He kind of just nods and is kind of turning his nose up at you. He gives you kind of the once over. You see his buddy coming out of the station has a patch on the back of his vest. It says Selkirk Trailblazers, and the image is of a mountain that seems to be emanating fire from behind it. And then there's a trail that wraps around the mountain that is shaped a bit like a snake, and it seems to be eating its own tail like an Ouroboros, but it's meant to be interpreted as a path around the mountain, basically. And the one that's coming out of the station just gets back on his motorcycle. They finish filling up. And the one that you're talking to, Dino, just says, what's your name?
I'm Nick.
He says, I'm Phil. Nice to meet you. You guys gonna be staying in town?
Maybe. I don't know. I just have to talk to my friend. We'll figure it out.
He kind of nods and says, well, there isn't much to do here, but if you guys were looking for some activities, I could, of course, give you some recommendations.
Hey, where can a guy get a real drink? Not some nonsense, but a real drink.
He kind of nods and he says, well, we have a bar that we go to down in Ione. which is like a town to the south by a little ways. He says the bars around here they're all right. They're small.
Of course. I'll definitely. If I see you there, I'll buy you a drink, friend, because you're so friendly.
He kind of nods. And I think he just kind of notices Hayden coming out with like watermelon, what do you call them? Sour Patch Kids, and like a big like
Good taste.
big like energy drink or something. And he just kind of like watches her walk over to the car. And he just he kind of again looks back at your car, looks back at you. There's like something that isn't tracking for him. Like he's clearly suspicious, but you're not really sure of what. But he just gives you a nod, and then they head off. And Dino, as you go to get back into the vehicle, you do see that parked up the street a little ways looks like a police cruiser that seems to be just sitting there. The lights are off, but like the interior lights are on. At this distance, you can't really see, but you're wondering whether they were, watching those bikers or not. You hop back in the car.
Have a good day now, friend, he says, and Dino just hops back in the car.
They just kind of give you a wave as they thunder down the road to the south. And as you head out, Hayden offered you guys snacks. As you pass like this police cruiser, you see that there's two, sheriffs sitting in it. But they seem to have like burgers in their hands with like the reflective like foil, and they're just like eating. They seem to be on like a dinner break or something like that. They just kind of watch you guys pass. Hayden says, well, did you ruin that payphone or what?
No, it's working fine. Be nice.
She knows. She says, how do we know if it's working?
We find out when we have to use it.
She just like is shaking her head and clearly anxious about that scenario. So you head on into town again. There's, this gas station is around the Medellin area. You cross a bridge. You head past I believe there's a cemetery over here. So yeah, just up the road there's a little cemetery you see off on the left. It has some night lighting for the different little paths that wind through the cemetery. Head across the bridge into town. There's basically one street. You see a church off to one side. You guys can head for the motel if you like, or you can stop off in town.
We could stop off in town and see hey, what's good around here?
Yeah, just check out the area.
Yeah, so you guys just veer off here to the right, head down Main Street. You see, there's town hall, there's movie theater, there's the Washington Hotel, which is on Main Street. It's kind of a historic building, very old. So that's one option. You can just stay right on Main Street. There's a cafe next door. And then as you pass kind of this area where there would be a payphone, there's a little vending machine. And it's strange because you look in that direction and you can sense that there's a doorway of some sort there, but it's not there. And it's a weird, almost like a quantum superposition where it's I can tell there's something there, but visually there's nothing there. And if I believed hard enough, maybe there would be something there. And Hayden, I think as you pass it, she's looking out the window over in that area, and she can feel that sensation, but she doesn't know what it is or what that means. She just, there's something eerie about that corner of the building, and she can't really put her finger on it.
We want to check that out?
Might as well. I mean, spooky corners of buildings seems to be our thing.
Yeah, so you guys can just pull up. And as you
Yeah.
hop out, Dino, go ahead and roll an awareness and I think a spirit on this one makes sense for me.
Oof, rip for me. 6.
6. Yeah, it's not terrible. I mean, that's still pretty good. I mean, you guys are used to 30s, but that's because you're superhuman, you know. So I think you guys, hop out of the car. Again, there's just kind of in this corner here where it says ice cream cones. Back that way, there's a little vending machine that can be seen. And as you approach, there is this weird kind of shimmering reality where, if you walk towards this space with enough purpose, there's a payphone here, and then other times there isn't. So is it your guys' intent to just kind of explore that space, or did you want to actually try to compromise that phone there?
I don't know if we should compromise the phone what is not there.
Compromise. Maybe in a very different way. I mean, I want to figure it out.
Okay. So Haywire, you're headed towards it. Go ahead and
Yeah.
roll a mind die for me.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, at least that explains. That explains. And that's an 11, which is the highest I'm ever going to roll on anything.
Very good. And sorry, what was your die that you rolled? Was it a D12? Oh shit. Okay. So yeah, Haywire,
Haywire's a fucking idiot.
you are approaching this space, and again, there's this weird moment of things are popping in and out of existence. I think even to the extent that there's a shift in the air. There's a little bit more wind around this space as you're approaching it, and you, with purpose, reach out, and as your hand closes, it closes around the handle of a phone, and in that instant, something settles, and this payphone now exists corporeally, and Hayden kind of stops in her tracks and is looking around to make sure everything else is the same, and it is. But this payphone now exists and is physically there and stays there for the moment.
Boring.
Hayden says, "You willed a payphone into existence, and that's boring."
I was expecting it to explode or something.
I think you start to pick it up and you start to listen to the dial tone, and the dial tone is skipping like a CD.
Tunes just do that on AR. So it's just a normal phone, guys.
Oh, I'm not using it. I'm not going near that thing.
Can I try pushing some buttons and see
Yeah,
if
works.
it doesn't?
I mean, I think there's it's a little bit modulated, it's a not quite the right sound, but it seems to be functioning for you.
Okay, she'll put the phone back on the thing.
And it just hangs
And
up,
back up.
stays there.
Is it still corporeal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can I look around for something that might cause this?
Yeah, go ahead and roll awareness and mind for me.
That's a 12.
12. Yeah, so I think... And what's your technology die? You said you didn't have any?
I have a d6.
Okay. Go ahead and roll that as well. Just give me a technology die and a mind die as well. Because you have an answer, but let's see how actual
A
detail
4 on
it
the
is.
d6. Do you want me to reroll the mind too?
Yeah.
That's a 7.
Okay. So, you know that there's like a concerted effort by the system to remove like any payphones, any landlines, because those are all potential exits for you guys. So it's a way to just freeze you out. So what you expect is this was a payphone that was removed, but they can't remove like the structure built into landlines. So they can take the payphone away, but whatever underlying hardware that's in the real world, they can't remove that without destroying it. So it's still there, and if you know how to access it, you can. So for the moment, until something changes, I'm gonna eventually turn that payphone back to a green, because it's just gonna stay there now.
She'll turn around to look at Dino and say, "They don't want us here."
And I think at that moment, Dino, with your 6 awareness earlier, he's not paying attention to you. He's standing at the corner of the building, kind of looking back towards the street. And Dino, there's a black SUV. You recognize the license plate on it. It's a series of 6 digits. And you've seen this SUV every time you've gone to meet Agent Gray in a public place.
Oh, fuck.
Oh boy.
Is it in front of anything?
It's in front of the cafe that's right up the street from you.
You here, baby? Hello?
You know what? I think, yeah, he'd actually do that, because I did say I was going to text. He's going to send a quick little text to Gray, like, "Hey, Gray, old buddy, old pal, are you in Washington? ? Duck emoji."
Yeah, I
Duck
think
emoji.
we'll flash back to a moment that might be pretty telling. So, heading back in the timeline just a little bit, Agent Gray is driving an SUV. He is clearly following some car that's in front of him. He's keeping a safe distance, trying not to be noticed. This car heads into the Medellin Falls town area proper, coming down the hill from the north to the south. And he stops kind of at what would be maybe like a city limit or a town limit. Kind of pulls off to the side of the road, and just for a moment kind of like is sitting there kind of gripping the steering wheel, looking at his surroundings, and there's like a moment of hesitation of like, okay, I could turn around. It seems like he reserves himself to continue. He takes the earpiece that's in his ear out of his ear and continues on into the town, following this person. So flashing back to now. Flashing forward to now. You send that text. You just receive a text back that says "elaborate," period, and then it's signed Agent Gray, as always.
Text. "We're going to work on your text lingo later, Gray. Why," next line, "why is your SUV here in the same town we are? I thought you all stayed away from this place, ? And then Dino's going to like motion for Haywire, like, "Gray's in the, near the cafe."
I think
Haywire turns
Hayden
around and
hears
walks
that,
toward-
she shrinks and like gets ready to run in any direction. Like,
Haywire turns and starts walking towards the cafe.
okay. Hayden sees
Dino
you
follows after.
doing that. I think Hayden looks for like, he looks to you, Dino, because Haywire's already walking away. Like, do I get in the car? Like, this feels like, a moment where somebody would be like, "Wait in the car," and she should probably listen to that. So she's seeing whether she should go inside with you or stay outside.
"I'm not your master, Hayden. If you want to come with me, you may."
She scampers after Haywire.
That's what I figured.
So you guys enter this cafe. There's 3 people sitting off to one side. Riley, this is your character, Emerson. 2 people that clearly seem military to you. One is like dressed very officially. One is dressed down. But they both have the same kind of structured sitting position that reads as military to you, Haywire. And then you see Agent Gray like awkwardly eating like eggs and hash browns and sausage. And he's like mechanically, this is what eating looks like, but there's like a weird clinical, like efficient approach to it that it's just not natural. It's not natural. Like, it's like same number of chews per bite, like, and he doesn't look at you over his shoulder. You see,
Well, Dino's walking right over to his table, though. Sorry.
and the waitress kind of is like, "Wow, what is the busiest night that I've had in years?" And she like will try to seat you, but then see that Haywar's like and Dino are probably making a beeline for Gray's table. So she's like, oh yeah, and she just like gives you guys menus, and we'll check in the next few minutes unless you say otherwise.
Are there artificial lights in this cafe?
Good question. I'm wondering if I can. Let's see. I wonder if they have. They might have pictures. Let's find out.
Very exciting if Riley gets to watch me argue with a building on the first
doesn't
day
look
they're
like-
here.
It doesn't look like they have pictures.
We're professionals.
I
No
only
pictures.
argue with buildings.
I'll just assume it's an American thing. Like, I'm coming here from Toronto. Maybe this is part of the culture.
This is very.
Oh, yeah, no, it is
strange
quite
place.
common in Washington to bicker with cafes.
Yep. hmm
So yeah, I'm thinking no fluorescent lighting. Like the open sign is probably fluorescent. That kind of flickers as you enter. But all the other lighting is, traditional. So it doesn't flicker too bad.
Wait.
So you sit down and Gray greets you. I think he calls you by your full names.
Oh, he 100% would.
Yeah, so Dino, I'm forgetting if you're... is Nate you or your brother?
He's Nate. He's Nate Strickland.
Okay, so he's Nate Strickland, Hayden Masterson, Subject 13. And he just nods to each of you. Still wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night. Like, it's 8 p.m. at this point. And then he doesn't say anything. He just is staring straight ahead. Again, just eating.
Right. All right, fine. I'll fish for the questions. Gray, what the hell are you doing here?
Go ahead and roll persuasion and mind for me.
It's very persuasive.
It's a good question.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did I just hear somebody called Subject 13 at the table across from?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Cool. That's not weird.
It's me,
Again.
your friendly neighborhood psycho.
And actually, go ahead and roll, Emerson. Go ahead and roll awareness and mind for me. And sorry, and,
Cool,
and
that's-
Dino, what was your roll?
1-5-15.
This guy. This one. Yep. 12.
So, like Emerson, like this is clearly like a weird group of people to just walk into the restaurant. So it's like setting off red flags left and right, and you're trying to stay engaged in the conversation that's happening at your table, but it's hard not to like keep glancing over. But something you notice is like they don't notice you're distracted, and they also haven't looked in their direction at all. And you're like, this is just really strange. Like, this guy won't look at me, and these guys won't look at him, and this is a very unnatural state to be in such a small cafe. Like, it's maybe, I don't know, 20 feet across and 40 feet deep. Like, it's a very small place. And they just seem to not be acknowledging the other party at all. And then Dino with your 15. Gray says, I am on official business. And it feels like there's more to that sentence, but then he just kind of cuts off that sentence.
Which is what? Come on, Gray. We're probably working on the same problem here.
Yeah, how do you even put that? Yeah, go ahead and roll me another persuasion check, just to see if, like, there's clearly like a hesitation here where he is considering revealing more. Like he's at least revealed like. Oh yeah, that's
18.
18, that's good. And then go ahead and roll me an insight in mind as well.
Nine.
Okay.
I do not have good insight.
He does not have good performance. So a couple things happen. He says, I'm here on official business. And your bullshit meter goes off. You're like, he's not here on official business. He's lying to me right now. And he's really bad at it. And I think at that moment you do notice that his earpiece is out of his ear, just kind of hanging on his lapel. And so you're like, oh, he's not on official business. And you're not sure what that means, because you thought that was the only kind of business he could conduct. Like,
Uh-oh.
He might even notice that you have, are kind of heading in this direction suspicion-wise. And he says, I made inquiries about the region. I was stonewalled. I wasn't aware that there were very many levels of secrecy above my clearance. I had several cycles of vacation time, and he just kind of trails off.
Wait, you lot get vacation time? What's the PTO for being an agent of the Matrix, I wonder?
He says, previous models, they found it difficult to integrate with your culture.
So the solution is to go on a cultural walkabout?
He says,
this is integrated?
As a liaison, I've been given more flexible proclivities. He says, I find your cuisine is at times engaging.
So, let me just see if I understand this correctly. You have vacation time, and you decided to use it in the ass-end middle of nowhere in Washington, and you are eating eggs in a cafe in a town that no one's ever really heard of. Did I get it right?
He kind of gives two nods and says, well, I admit that is only in part my motivation, though I don't find your rural areas all that much different than your urbanized areas. Mostly a consideration of density. He says, and then he kind of does that thing where he takes your question literally and is like, many machines and programs, AI, they take vacations to this place. And you think he means like this place as in the simulation. He says, just for variety.
Diana just kind of looks over at Haywire. Do we believe this?
Haywire is only half paying attention and is kind of eyeing his eggs.
Never mind.
Right, the waitress just comes up and is like, "Oh, you ready to order?"
Oh,
okay. And she just kind of wanders back.
Oh my god.
Welcome to the gang.
Is there any secrets? Is there any attempt to conceal this conversation, or is this just
really?
God no.
Follow-up question: are the people I'm with reacting to the fact that this?
No, they're still they're completely oblivious. I think at this point, Well, I don't know. I think as a player, I could just reveal like there's clearly some sort of perception filtering going on here, where like they're a part of the system and they're not being allowed to see Gray, whereas you don't seem to be shackled. How Emerson actually like processes that idea, she probably doesn't have like that kind of inclining quite yet, but it's definitely strange that like they seem incapable of interacting with them and vice versa.
Can I just be like, I'm so sorry to interrupt this conversation, but I've been driving for hours. I'm gonna go use the restroom. I'm just gonna like get up and like try to listen to this conversation a little bit better as I walk to presumably the bathroom.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead and roll stealth plus, I guess, spirit at this point. I feel like that's a spirit roll. So
Sure.
stealth and spirit, and then everybody else roll awareness and mind for me.
That is a total of 6.
I expect that someone.
That is a
yeah.
10.
I got it. 11.
Okay. So I think everybody but Hayden, who like is too enraptured with this scenario to be paying attention to anything else. Everybody notices like this person gets up, heads to kind of the bathroom door, and probably like enters the bathroom fully, but leaves the door cracked just enough, and it happens to be on your side of the cafe, so clearly like listening in, and I'll just leave that to you guys how you decide to process that.
Haywire goes from staring at the eggs to her head kind of snapping over to the restroom, staring directly at Emerson.
I think you lock eyes, at least one eye with Emerson.
I'm just gonna take a step back from the door so that's not visible.
Okay. And then at this point, gunshots ring out. The front of the cafe just kind of explodes, glass thrown everywhere. Everybody instantly goes into motion. Haywire, go ahead and give me awareness in mind.
Maybe it was my fault. I'm sorry. Wasn't aware. Cut these out because I just rolled this. I'm kind of an idiot. Ew. That is a 14.
Okay. All right, 14, and then let's see. Gyno, as you know, the front of the building here just kind of explodes with gunfire. What's your first move?
Can I kick the table down to give us like some cover?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, that's what you do. Like pull the table so Gray, Haywire, and Hayden can kind of like everybody gets behind the table.
Let's see. How exactly is that going to play out? I think what happens is gunfire rings out. Very quickly, Haywire, your instinct is to get a view of however many assailants you can. You see out the front window, there's no headlights on, but you see at least 4 muzzle flashes. Automatic gunfire, seemingly low caliber. You know that the tables won't be enough for stopping bullets, but they will at least like conceal you. Everybody goes into motion. Haywire, you grab Hayden. I think both of you probably grab Hayden by the scruff of the neck and like jam her on behind this table. Emerson, luckily because you're in the bathroom, none of these shots are in your direction. What you see from Gray is he stands and spins towards the gunfire, is in the process of drawing his own weapon when the shots start being directed at him. And again, he goes into dodge mode, dodging all of the bullets. None hit him, they just kind of explode across the back. You hear a shriek from behind the counter from the waitress. The two Air Force men dive for cover behind the bar and are trying to head out the cafe. I think that's their instinct, is to get away from the gunfire as quickly as possible. But sitting behind this table with just an instant of reflection time, you see that all of the shots are being directed at Gray, and seemingly none of them are riddling your table with gunfire. And then, kind of as the first round of suppressive fire ends, there's a pause. Haywire, your mental math is, they're reloading. So you think, I have, something like 3 to 6 seconds, depending on how good they are, to do something. You get into motion, you get, your head out from behind the table to just see what you're dealing with, and gunfire starts again. Too quickly. So now suppressing fire is coming in 2 volleys. 4 and 4. Again, all seemingly directed at Gray. So now we can take action. So what do you guys want to do with your time? And Emerson, jump in as well, because you should be doing something too. I just don't know what you want to be doing.
Yeah, actually, so it looks like on the map, is there like an alley, like where that payphone used to be?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know where the bathroom is in this building. Is there a window? Because I would just leave if I could.
Yeah, so I was actually imagining that it's on the left side of the building.
Sure.
Let me see if I can see. I can't really see that side.
So
I'm going to say that there is not a window.
Cool. Yeah, then I'm just going to try to find like a way out the back, because there's no way I'm going into that gunfire and I don't want to like be stuck in a bathroom without a window.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can, wait for a break in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
You know that there's a door kind of around the on the same wall as you, so you don't have to like cross the cafe. But there's a door that leads back into the kitchen that you can head for as soon as you want to. Just shout at me as soon as you feel like there's a good moment where you would make a dash.
Cool.
Everybody else, what do you want to do?
Are they staying? What's going on? Are they driving away?
So they're staying. Again, there's like the first volley of fire, they run dry, and as they're reloading, another 4 are firing at Gray. So it's almost like a constant rain of bullets at this point. Haywire, I think you see flying eggs like that have been shot off the table or thrown off the table.
Great. They don't seem to be shooting at us, though. And when I poked my head out, they didn't try to shoot at me, right?
No.
I vote we fight these guys, because if we can do Gray a solid, all right, Spill, what the hell's going on here, buddy?
I think you see Hayden is already going for a pistol that she had like stowed in her pocket.
Absolutely not.
Well, Banner's pulling out his pistol.
You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Wait.
Got lots.
You know what? They're not shooting, so Dino's going to peek his head out. Are they going to start shooting at him?
No, they don't. If you just take like an instant to peer, you see kind of out in the darkness of the street, they do seem to be posted up next to SUVs, but the headlights aren't on, and you just see 4 muzzle flashes.
Can I tell if they're agents or not from what I saw?
Go ahead and roll awareness in mind.
$13.
13. So in the flashes of the gunfire, you see that they're outfitted in like tactical gear, ballistic helmets, probably tactical vests with plates in them. They seem to be firing like submachine guns. Your guess would clearly not agents. Agents don't typically like carry that sort of kit. They also don't shoot at their own people. So as far as you can tell, no.
Then I think Dino's going to charge them.
Okay. What's the goal?
Use his parkour to try to get them to attack them. Try to like, hey, knock it off. Just like try to thin their numbers at least.
So like hand to hand, or what do you think?
Hand to hand.
Okay. So go ahead and roll brawl plus body for me. Haywire, what's your plan? Defensive or offensive? You see Dino vault the table and head for the nearest window.
I need to take care of Dino. I'll try to provide him suppressing fire with shurikens if I can. I don't know how well that's going to work.
21.
Are you there? 21. 21.
Yep, I had an explosion.
21.
Excellent. And then roll, so that would be, well, I don't know. Would that be like spirit for you? Do you feel like that would be like your purpose is to defend your ally here? Or would you like that to be body?
I think body, because Dino's thing is it's more like a, yeah, this is my thing. I fight. That is what I do.
Okay. And same for you, Haywire. Do you think that's spirit or body for you?
Protecting her friends is spirit, I think.
So for you, roll spirit and brawl.
Okay. Prepare to be amazed. Prepare to be hit with a 26.
26. And then I have to roll for Greg again. Let's go this.
Describe her characters at all?
Yeah, I guess now would be the best time.
Kind of forgot.
Avan, as you dive out the window at these guys, what do we see?
Oh, blonde, thin but muscular guy, pretty scraggly looking hair. Looks to be the influencer type, but there's something not quite right. He's wearing a black trench coat and some really cool looking black sunglasses.
Haywire.
Oh, sunglasses at night too. Bastard.
Haywire, what do we see as you provide suppressing fire? What do you look like?
So she's live, not that tall. I think like slightly below average for a woman her age, and she's like about 18, a little older. She has a beanie over her hair, so you can't see most of that. But she does have these intense blue eyes that always flick around looking at pretty much everything. And over her back is a guitar case, which she is currently pulling shurikens out of.
And Emerson cowering in the back. What do we see of you?
Emerson is in her late 20s. Her hair is kind of like messy and tied up, and it's just like boring old brown. She has blue eyes. She's 5'4", a little squishy looking. She's definitely like someone whose preferred sports are esports, and she's dressed like someone who's been trying to look professional, but also knew she was going to be stuck in the car for like several hours. And there's definitely like a Starbucks receipt sticking out of her pocket at this point.
And Hayden is just kind of a fairly short, pale-skinned, dark-haired woman, young woman. She wears like most of her wardrobe is black clothes with kind of any pop of color is probably like a yellow gold color. So she's very dressed kind of simply, but it kind of has one color. It's black. And
Black and yellow.
Yeah.
Really?
She pulls a pistol out of her sweater pocket. She runs for the back door. As Dino runs forward, she kind of slams with a shoulder slam through that door. It just kind of blows off the hinges. She posts up right on that, corner of the wall, peeking out with her pistol, seeing if she should shoot, but she doesn't at the moment.
If I hear someone going for the back door, can I take off at the same time? Like if someone's clearly also headed that direction?
As you hear that door just shattered off its hinges, you head that direction, and she kind of, as you pass her, she almost like scoops you by the shoulder and tries to throw you like further into the kitchen just to hurry you. And she doesn't give you a second thought. Like after you're past her, like you're not her problem anymore, and she's just like peering around the corner.
These are social animals.
That's very true.
Or socialize. Look, a friend.
How do they communicate? They communicate by dancing. So she just starts dancing.
She just twerks.
There's a
Fucking backs it up.
There's a performative
Oh my God.
element to her conversation. So
That's what solidifies for me that we're in a simulation.
oh God.
You know, I've never mentioned this, but Haywire does have kind of a mix of a Welsh and like Cockney British accent,
Love it.
which is like half that, half American. So it's kind of a fucked up accent. Yeah.
So yeah, Dino, you dive through what's left of a window. You engage kind of two men on the your right side, their left side of the encounter. One of them is reloading. The other is still firing at Gray. You dive at them with a 21. And the one that's reloading ditches his reload and goes for a sidearm. And as he's pulling it out, you kind of close the distance and are trying to disarm him. He kind of shrugs you off and throws you against the car to his left, and is just trying to level his gun at you, and you're just keeping him at bay with strikes and kind of locking up that arm. And you see kind of over his shoulder as you're struggling for this gun, the other commando that's kind of in a kneeling position, his gun runs dry. You see the guns of the men across the SUVs from you. Their guns run dry. You just get a glance back inside. You see Haywire throwing shurikens out the window. And sorry, what was your role, Haywire?
Oh, that was like ages ago. I think it was a 27 or 26 or something.
Do you think you would strike weapons to disable them or people?
Probably people.
Okay, so Haywire, you zero in, you plant a shuriken in somebody's cheekbone, and he just kind of is thrown back against the SUV, kind of clutching at his face, and blood starts to roll down. I think even you'd be good enough to like put it in above the eye, so the blood rolls into his eye and kind of limits his vision. So let me actually have to start keeping track of this shit. So 1 body die reduced. Gray, in the process of dodging, tries to draw his firearm, rolls very low. His firearm is shot out of his hands. He doesn't take any damage himself, but he loses his sidearm. I guess it's his primary, because it doesn't have any weapon. So he starts to do mental math of, okay, now what? As he's dodging more bullets. And that's kind of I guess that's the end of our first round of combat. Leading into the next round, what you see, 4 of the commandos charge the front door, headed right for Gray. The 2 that are next to Dino are going to continue trying to deal with Dino, just because he's an emerging threat. But there are 4 men heading in. 2 more left outside that aren't kind of engaged with Dino are reloading submachine guns. What do we want to do for our next round of combat?
Put their heads through the window. I want to take these guys out. I don't want to like distract them.
Yeah, so go ahead, roll brawl plus body for me.
Wait, didn't I take the download for brawl?
You could have. I mean, so I think the last one I remember was driving, but if you wanted that to be your download for this evening, you can. So you just put that to a D10.
Yeah.
Having to download Brawl. Idiot.
He's good at other things. Clearly. He's good at running. You should
27.
like him. 27. So yeah, you immediately kind of wrap a hand around this guy's neck and shove his head through the SU or the vehicle's window next to you and just shatter it out. Haywire, what are you doing?
There are 4 men charging. I mean, I guess not technically me, or like Gray, but
Yeah.
that's kind of also me. I'm in the vicinity. So she's going to. You guys are agents. I could probably take them. She's going to reach for her guitar case and take out a bow staff, and
Does
attempt
it like
to charge them.
extendable, or does it like? Because it's like I imagine it's longer than the guitar case. So does it do like a magic like just?
I don't know. Will you let me have it?
Yeah,
do that?
if it's too
Fuck yeah.
too large for the case, yeah, who cares? You pull it out, and there is probably a moment of one of these charging commandos going like, "What the fuck?" Like, this is not what I expected. And so go ahead and roll Brawl plus body for me. So 27 for Dino. They're just gonna try to brawl with you, I guess. 10. Oh, no, that's not an explode. So
That's a 37.
okay. Would you? Oh no, let's say that's a different guy. Okay, so that's a success for.
I am trained in bow staffs, if that helps.
Yeah, so I think at this point, what happens is, because of the martial arts expertise, Haywire, you gain an adversity die of your choice. Dino, you also beat them, so you gain an adversity die of your choice. Because, well, I guess yeah, if you downloaded Brawl, you'd have an expertise. So, or would you? I can't remember if I did that. I'm gonna say yeah in this case. So take an adversity die as well. Your choice. So Dino, you put this guy's head through a window. He slumps to the ground. He's not incapacitated, so a moment later he's gonna get up. But there's blood kind of running down his face from all the glass. Clearly stunned by the blow. You move to the other guy who is again dropping kind of primary, going for a sidearm to get it up and level it at you. You kick that gun away and it kind of clatters to the sidewalk, and then plant another kick hard in his chest, and it kind of throws him up and against the hood of the vehicle, and his head kind of snaps back. So he also is on his way out, as it were. Haywire, as these men approach Gray kind of shrugs and like prepares himself for a fist fight. The first one of them is approaching him, and he actually, instead of like a knife or a gun, pulls out some sort of syringe-looking device. It has a handle like a gun, but the business end of it looks like some sort of syringe. In the kind of vial or body of the device is some sort of like metallic-looking liquid. And he's charging him with it, trying to stick him with it. As that one charges in, you plant the business end of your staff kind of up under his jaw into his throat, and he coughs, kind of spit flies out, and probably just barely grazes Gray. He's kind of thrown back, lands on his back, and slides to Gray at his feet. But the other 3 men continue to charge in. You try to keep them at bay with a few swings, but they're kind of able to rotate around, stay out of reach of the swinging staff, and get in at Gray, and they start to just try to wrestle him to the ground and try to stick him with this device. So they're like currently trying to grapple him and bring him down and successfully get this thing into his skin. That wraps up that round. Gray takes an adversity die for failing that. He rolled an 8, they rolled a 15. So they're, bearing down on this next round. They have kind of, all 3 of them have managed to wrestle him enough that they have a go at sticking him in the neck with this syringe gun. So we'll see how that plays out in the next round. What do you guys want to do with the next round? Dino, you have 2, hurt, stunned, but not incapacitated men in front of you. 2 more reloading past them.
I want to finish the 2 I'm with. I'm going to be a gentleman. Just try to finish these 2. Just smash their heads into the car or something. I just don't want them to get back up. Okay. And
I don't know, but I mean, a firearms roll would be, if it is better for you than brawl, that could be a method.
Oh, no. It's not, because I have nothing in firearms.
Right. So yeah, go ahead and roll body and brawl for me. So we'll keep brawling with you. Oof.
Oh dear.
What did you roll?
What the fuck?
We're still going.
Oh, I'm still exploding.
Very nice. We love to see it. Also, I don't know if I always forget about this. Riley, if you roll the largest value on a die, you roll it again. We forgot that several times over the course of playing. 42. Okay, so I think in this case, you beat them by significantly enough that, I should start reducing things by multiple die values. So, yeah. So we'll say minus... I think that's a -2. You beat them by over 30, just to be clear. So is a D10, is a 86. Okay, so yeah, how this proceeds, I think you, pistol in hand from earlier, you whirl on the guy that you put through the window. He's getting up, his gun's at his feet, he kind of goes for it. You plant a knee kind of right in the nose, which throws him up against that vehicle again, and then you just pistol whip him to the ground. And I guess I'll ask you, do you want to split the damage between the 2 guys, or do you want to take this one out for sure? Those are your options.
If I split, will they keep getting back up? Because this is starting to get annoying.
They're both on a D4 if you split the damage. So they would need one more hit to go down permanently. These guys are very tough. Frustratingly so.
Okay, you know what? Let's just take out one of them. Okay. Just to try to drive the point home, like, get the hell out of here.
That pistol whip, cracks him in the jaw. His head snaps, and he goes limp and does not get up. Face down. You kind of whirl on the other one and rush in. He's rushing at you. We'll get to that next round. One down. Haywire. These 3 men have leapt onto Gray. The other one is getting up. You plant, a whack with the staff across this guy's thigh. And instead of contending with you, he joins the melee. He rushes and tries to tackle Gray to the ground. Like, you're doing damage to these guys, but they're not concerned with you. Their main goal is to get Gray to the ground and stick him with his needle. What do you want to do?
Okay, so I think Haywire has an innate needle phobia, which is probably justified.
Yeah.
I think this is her friend they're attacking, and I think she feels like they can't do anything, like even her attacks aren't working. I'm really considering doing a grand glitch here.
I like it.
In fact, I probably will. And I'm about to obliterate this town. I'm sorry, we're a very nice town.
let me look up our. Do we have those rules saved anywhere on Discord?
Yeah.
I have them in my. Let's see. Glitch. I found it. No, I didn't. It's an empty document.
I need to spend all my adversity dice.
Indeed. How many adversity dice is that? Just for my knowledge.
I have all of them.
All D20s or?
No, I have 1d20, 1d12, and the rest are d6s.
Okay. Why don't you just roll all those dice and give me a number?
Do they explode?
Yeah, let's say yeah.
Boy, it's gonna take a while, guys. Um... Hold on, almost there. So D12. So that is a 53.
Okay.
You need me to add spirit to that or anything?
No, I think that will suffice.
Because I will, if you need me to.
Because I'll fucking do it. I'll fucking do it, bro.
Oh, thank
Okay. So I think what happens is, and Dino, you kind of see this progressing. You're somewhat familiar with this process, but you've never maybe seen it to this extent. You just get a glance back inside the cafe. You see that these men are tackling Gray to the ground. You see Haywire drops the staff, and Emerson, you kind of get a peek at this too, just over the bar from your position inside the kitchen. She kind of starts to convulse a little bit. Her eyes maybe roll back in her head, and then little, almost like data ports, little gray, mechanical inputs seem to start kind of burrowing out of her skin. They go up her arms. You see one at the base of her neck. And this convulsion starts to kind of vibrate the ground. It starts to vibrate the walls. Bits of glass that are still remaining in the windows starts to fall. Dino, you don't know what going critical would look like, because most of the glitches you've probably seen up to this point have been fairly localized. This is a more severe endeavor than you've seen so far. So you know something big is about to happen. On the level of a nuke going off. So what is your is there any concern about protecting people around you? And what do you do to protect yourself in this scenario?
I'm diving behind the SUV, but I'm not protecting these guys.
Okay. I think, Haywire, you hear over your shoulder Hayden saying, "What are you doing? Move!" And she's just confused by this. She doesn't really know what to expect. A moment later, Haywire, I think the only thing else that you can perceive is like a very high-pitched buzzing noise. You get a glance. There's kind of a calm before the storm. There's just an instant of a pause. You see the needle slowly going into Gray's neck. The plunger of this device isn't, putting it into a system yet, but it's right there. And you see past them on a mirror on the wall, you see it at none of the tables have remained standing, but in this mirror there is one table still standing, and there's a woman in kind of a glamorous red dress. She has a red wide-brimmed hat, and it's kind of low over her face, kind of shading her face to the extent that she almost looks headless a little bit. And she's just looking in your direction. It's a figure you've never seen before. She gives like a single nod, and then I guess I'll ask you, do you have any input what you would like to have happen here? And then I'll tell you how that goes.
Well, I was thinking something along the lines of like physics breaking, stuff tearing apart, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have anything you wanted to do, we could do that.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there's anything like pertinent.
Sorry, this was a really nice cafe.
I think to kind of harken back to, a moment earlier in training where you kind of reverse gravity, I think there's a moment where things become weightless and start to kind of float upwards, and then it all comes slamming down, and this includes the building. So you feel the foundation of your building lift, you all kind of go weightless and continue upwards, and then a moment later the entire building just collapses, and we'll end there for tonight. I think that's a good place to end.
Yay!
It
I
is.
collapsed a building.
Nice.
GG's will come back next week with new characters. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
We're now just the Bigfoot festival, like, that are in town watching this from across the street.
Man, that was weird, huh? Anyway, Bigfoot.
Alright.
Alright.
Anywho, about
That's-
that Matrix thing.
Alright, see ya.
Sorry.
Bye.